All right, guys, what's happening? Happy Monday to you. It's Monday, June 21st, 2021. This morning, we're going to talk a little bit about dads. We're going to do some tips for all the dads out there. Hope you all had a happy Father's Day yesterday. It's good to be back with you this morning. Let's get started.
It is ultimately important for you to look at your goals, truly what you want to do in your life, and then look at the people who you spend the most time with in your life and figure out if that lines up.
All right, guys, what's happening? Happy Monday to you, man. It's good to be back. Great weekend. Hope you guys, all the dads out there, had a great Father's Day weekend. I hope all you guys had a great weekend. And this morning, I thought we'd kick off the week by talking about some tips for all the dads out there. I will start off just by saying that, and I think a lot of people can relate to this statement that I've talked to that are parents, whether it be fathers or mothers. I think that being a parent is one of the most insecure positions that any of us could have, right? I think we're all trying to figure it out as we go. We're all trying to do the very best that we can with the knowledge that we have. One of the things when I talk to my dad or my mom about parenting, my dad has often said to me, I have a lot of things that I would have done differently at the time, but based on the knowledge that I had at that particular moment of being a parent, I was just doing the best that I had with the knowledge that I had at that time. And it's interesting how much I can relate to that being a parent now and trying to figure it out as you go. There's a lot going on in life. There's a lot of things that we have to juggle between work and a marriage and kids and all the other things that are going on, our personal lives and the things that, we try to weave into there along with being a parent. And so there's a lot of things that go into being a parent that really ultimately make us insecure in that position. So if you guys can relate to that, you're not alone. I've talked to a lot of people that have that same insecurity about being a parent, whether it be being a father or a mother. It's all the same. It's all relevant. But, that insecurity is in, I would say, most people, if not all people, when it comes to we don't really know what we're doing being parents. We can read books and we can learn and we can ask others and we can get guidance from our own parents. But at the end of the day, we're all just trying to figure it out. So with that said, we're going to jump in here to the topic this morning. But first, I want to say good morning to some folks. What's happening, David Martin? Good morning, Tammy, Chris Filippelli, Jared, Rodney. What's happening, brother? Michael Bonetto, thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man. Cam Roberts, good morning to you, man. Todd, good morning, brother. Jenna, my wife, is on here. John Rugg, Nadia, and Keith Calloway Jr., man. We got a bunch of people in the West Coast time zone on here this morning. I appreciate you guys for being up with us here at we got started a little late this morning, about 4:40 a.m. They would be jumping on here. So I appreciate you guys. So when it comes to tips for all the dads out there, here's a couple of things that I thought about this morning. And I think that there's a lot of things going on in the world, right, that are kind of shifting the way that we look at certain things. And I think it's really important for us to be aware of those things. Actually, this morning on Clubhouse, I talked about giving yourself permission to be great, giving yourself permission to share your wins, giving yourself permission to put it all out there and not feel guilty about the fact that things are going well. And I think that has something to do with the first bullet point that I'm going to say here. And that is you don't necessarily have to listen to what everybody else has to say. And, for me personally, there's always I often get a question like, how do you juggle it all? And how do you have time to spend time with your kids? And and I warn you guys to think about this. Like when somebody says that to you, don't allow that to pierce your spirit, right? Whether you're right and wrong in being a parent and how much time you're spending. If you need to spend more time, if you're not present enough, if you are present enough, I think we all have that North Compass. So I think, the number one thing is be present in your own world and don't necessarily let the opinions of others impact the way that you do things. I think that we all have a north compass. And so what is right for us may not be right for somebody else, but the opinions of others can really impact us as parents. I think, in the mom world, they call it mom guilt, but it probably is the same on the father side of things with dad guilt, right? Like we got to go out, we have to make a living, we have to do this. And if you're always thinking about where you're not, right? If you're not present where your feet are, then that makes it difficult for you to be good in any aspect of your life. So for me, I try to block out all that stuff. I try to follow, my inner north compass to say, am I being a good father? Am I being a good example? Am I being someone that my kids can look up to and respect? And if they duplicated my life, would I be proud of them for doing that? And so I encourage you guys to just, I'm not saying don't listen to anybody. I'm just saying be careful about what you listen to and how much guilt you get from some of the comments that people might make. You could read into that way too much, and people don't know the details of your life. Some of the times that I get asked that question, it's like somebody's kind of implying something to some degree. And I often think like nobody really knows the quality time that you spend with your children other than you and your children and probably your spouse. But nobody else knows that. And so some of the conversations that go on, I think, are other people possibly making excuses for why they're not doing something and projecting that onto you. So just be careful about what you listen to that other people have to say. Number 2 on my list is be a great example, right? Above everything else. And I just kind of talked about it in the end of what I just said. But, being a great example is one of the best things that you can be for your kids, right? I had this conversation with my wife yesterday on the way up to my parents' house about, the idea that, in some way, shape, or form, these seasons in our life have to be separated. And for me, I think that life is all blended together. I try to involve our kids in as much business stuff as I can. I talk to them about what we've got going on, the different companies that I'm part of, and kind of what we're doing and how we make an impact and how we give back. I try to be first and foremost for them a great example, right? And I think that a lot of times, again, in today's world, it's like, we're looking at, well, how much time do you spend at work, or how much time do you spend here? How much? And I think that it's important for us to realize that, it is obviously very important for us to invest time, spending time with our children. But the other thing that is important is to teach them how to build a life, right? And to teach them what it looks like to sacrifice, what hard work looks like, what focus looks like, what determination looks like, what rewards come from being relentless, right? And I think that those things are important too. And so, sitting on the couch, watching movies with your kids, big deal, right? Spending quality time with them. Spending all day, every day watching movies with your kids doesn't teach them anything, right? So that balance of getting that part right, of being able to set a good example while still spending the quality time with them that you need to. And we all know what that looks like, right? We all know whether we're doing a good job in that particular area or not. I would just say that being a great example is one of the most important things that you can do, and again, I'll say it, the way that I look at it is, if my kids were to go and duplicate my life, would I be proud of them? Would I look at them as them doing a good job? And so that's how I try to live every day. That's how I try to set the example for our children. And hopefully I'm doing a good enough job that they will try to duplicate some of the things that we're doing as parents, right? Number 3, simple but super, super important. Tell them you love them. One of the greatest things that I think we get to do with our kids is to ensure them that they are loved, that they are cared for, that they are watched after. And one of my favorite moments of my life is I tell my kids I love them dozens of times a day, as often as I can, as many times as I see them. I tell them all the time. And I asked Kingston, our 6-year-old, once, I said, Daddy loves you, buddy. He said, I know. And I said, how do you know? And he said, because you tell me every day. And in that moment, I realized, just how important that is. It was important for me to hear that from him, that he knew, and that, he was reminded of that every single day. But I think that it's so important for us to tell our kids that we love them and that everything's okay and that we're there to protect them. That is our number one role as parents, is to love and care for them and to be there and be present, right? And so make sure that you're reminding them as often as you can that they are loved. There's a lot of people grow up as adults and they're kind of missing that part of their life, or they feel uneasy about the fact that they are loved or that they are cared for. And so I think it's really important, especially as a father. I can speak from this standpoint. Telling your kids that you love them really makes them look at male adults very differently, right? Versus if they don't hear that from their parents. So telling them that you love them is really, really important. And last but not least on my list here is being present. And this is something in today's world that we all struggle with. It's something that I struggle with all the things that I have going on, trying to stay present, but to be there with them and to let them know that you are there and they have your undivided attention. It will amaze you at how much time they don't require of you, the more present that you are. And so for me, I try to, when I get home, I try to be as present as I possibly can for that next hour or 2 hours when I walk in the door. And by the end of those couple of hours, it's a shame to say it. It doesn't always make me feel good, but they're kind of done with dad, right? They've had enough and they're going to go, do their own thing or go off and play a game with each other or go play a video game or play with their iPads or whatever it may be. But they're pretty much done, with dad or mom or whatever, as long as you are present for an extended period of time enough that they feel like they've been heard and they've been seen. And so being present is something that I think we all can do a better job of, whether it's at work, it's at home, it's in our marriage, it's with our kids. Being present is exceptionally important to our children. And so, telling them you love them is important. Being present is equally as important because so often in today's world, we're distracted by all kinds of things. And I catch myself all the time, jumping into things in the middle of, kind of family time. And I have to stop myself and say, they don't need me right at this particular moment, but maybe they need me in the next moment. And if I'm tied up doing something, that's not good. Right. And so I've tried to block that time out so that I am present when it's family time, when I am present, when I'm out to dinner with my wife, I am present, in the right moments on the family side. And I think that comes down to the statement that I said earlier is like, be present where your feet are, wherever you are. If you're at work, then be present at work, because if you're not present at work, you are actually stealing from your family and from your work. And if you're not present at home, you're definitely stealing from your family. So being present is a massive opportunity for all of us to just show people that we care, show our children that we see them and that we care for them, and that they are seen and heard. It's one of the most important things that a child can feel. And so, again, I'll run through the list here. Don't necessarily listen to what everybody else has to say, guys. Use your own measuring stick of how you're doing as a parent. It doesn't mean that you don't seek validation, but I just think there's a lot of opinions out there that are probably people projecting their own things onto you as a parent, as opposed to, you being able to properly evaluate your own situation and correct your own, missteps when it comes to being a parent. Number two is be a great example. Above everything else, if you can be a great example to your kids, they have a very good shot of being good adults. If you can set the right example, if you're doing the right things, the chances are they're going to do what they see more than they do what they hear, right? So if you're setting a good example, they're going to emulate that. They're going to turn into good, productive adults. And tell them you love them as often as you can. Make them feel safe, make them feel secure, create that space for them so that they understand, no matter how many mistakes they make or what they do, that they will always be loved and cared for. And last but not least is be present. Just be there for them. No matter how busy you are, no matter how much stress you're under, be there for them. Trust me, that time with them, when I am most stressed, when I have the most going on and, I could be distracted the most, man, time with them just melts all of that away and makes life so much better. So that is the list of tips for dads out there today. I hope you guys had an awesome weekend. I hope you had an amazing Father's Day for those fathers out there. And I look forward to this week with you guys. I will see you again tomorrow morning, same place, same time, right here on Morning Perspective. Love you guys. Thanks for being here.